Hello and welcome to episode 37 of Howard's Horse Handicapping. This is your host, Howard Kravitz. Thank you very much for joining me tonight. A lot of big news to talk about. Wow. Anything going on in the racing world right now? As I record here on Sunday night at about 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, we're going to talk about it, including, of course, the big race weekend at Belmont and our Pick 5. But before we do that, please make sure you hit that subscribe button right there on the right side of the screen. Also, you can follow me on Twitter at HKravitz. And, of course, you can also email me hkravitzhorse@gmail.com. A lot of different ways to get in touch with me. Thank you very much for joining me tonight. We hit a big milestone on this channel, and we have some big changes, good changes happening also here on the podcast. We hit on the HHH podcast on this particular YouTube channel. We have hit over 10,000 views. Thank you very much, everyone out there. We're over 10,000 views in a very short period of time. Could not have done it without you. I really appreciate it. Again, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you comment below the video player anything you like or dislike about the broadcast today. In terms of the exciting news and things happening on this channel, let's take a look at what's happening this Thursday night. So this Thursday night on this live stream right here, 8 o'clock Eastern, we have a new beginning, so to speak, on the HHH podcast. First of all, you're going to see new improved graphics and new chat features, and our first live guest will be Matt Bernier. He is listed as probable, though. Probable by the stakes office, by the racing secretary. He does have a bit of a family obligation on Thursday night that should be over by the time that we have our live streams. So we are hoping, cross our fingers, that Matt Bernier will most likely be our first live guest. Of course, he's from NBC Sports, in the Money Media, Racing Picks. He's got his a lot of things going on. I can't wait to talk to him as I reciprocate from me being on his show 3 times, and he's nice enough now to be our first guest on the HHH podcast. Also, of course, we're going to have detailed analysis of the Preakness. Next week is the Preakness, and we're going to talk about also the late Pick 5 at Pimlico. So we got a lot of things to discuss, a lot of things to cover. Hopefully, you're going to be here this Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Also, if you're not aware of the Race Day blog, we have a Race Day blog, and it's free. Had another successful weekend this past weekend. Please email me. You see all the information there, hkravitzhorse@gmail.com. All you have to do is type in your name and Race Day blog. You must be a subscriber. It's my YouTube channel, and you get free information, confidential email address. I send out on Saturday morning to your personal email upgrades and downgrades, and there's some very important ones this past weekend with some scratches, some horses that I correctly upgraded into having a successful Pick 5, and also I talk about some early races on the card and spot plays from throughout the country will also be sent on that blog. So a lot of really great information on that blog. It is free. There's absolutely no reason why you shouldn't sign up for that. Please make sure you sign up for the blog here, as this is already episode 37, and we have great content coming up, especially on Thursday. I cannot wait for it. So before we do a brief summary of the pick 5 and stake races, we got to talk about it. Like I said, I am doing this broadcast Sunday night about 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And as we all found out this morning, Medina Spirit, the Kentucky Derby winner, was tested positive for an overage of anti-inflammatories. Uh, so Bob Baffert, I have some very strong opinions that I'm not going to give all out right now. Let me just say a few quick things. First of all, there's due process in this country. We're going to see what happens with Bob Baffert and Medina Spirit. Best case scenario is they will look at the second test. These horses are tested twice, so they'll look at the second sample and see if that also comes out to be an overage. If it is, there'll be due process, but there's would be a chance then the Medina Spirit would be disqualified as the winner of the Derby. That would be the worst case scenario, of course, for Bob Baffert and really, I think, for horse racing in general. Best case scenario is there was a mistake somehow, the test was not true, and no harm, no foul. Let me just say a few quick things on my opinion, and then we're going to move on. I've sort of gone back and forth on my feelings of Bob Baffert. I mean, you can't deny his excellence as a trainer. He's one of the best trainers in the world. He might be the best dirt trainer in the world. I think it'd be hard to argue that. Uh, I thought when he was younger, I thought he was a bit arrogant. I wasn't a huge fan, but I respect him as a trainer. I thought as he's gotten older, I think he's humbled a little bit. He's a little bit more likable. The problem is he's had several of these violations now and overages, and it really hurts the sport and doesn't look good. He was exonerated with the Gamine issue. He was exonerated with the Justify issue. We'll see what happens here. Again, the shame of all this to me, though, really, is it just seems like on the national scene, 75% of the news that comes out of horse racing is bad, and only about like 25% is good. But there are so many great stories to tell in this game of really good people doing wonderful things, not only for the horses, but also for charity and just many other great endeavors. And it's just really a shame. I tweeted about this earlier today, how I just wish there was more positivity with horse racing. This is something that we do not need. We'll see what comes of it. Now, and for those of you that might think I'm a Baffert apologist, believe me, I am not. Um, I will say, without giving specifics, that because Medina Spirit won and none of the four horses behind him could pass Medina Spirit, I lost 5-digit score, times a good number. I would have had the trifecta. I would have had the superfecta. I had a future bet on Mandaloon. So it's very disappointing to me that this is happening. I'm angered and saddened, just like many of you out there. So we'll just see what happens. But what they've done now for the Preakness is instead of drawing for the Preakness on Monday, they've now backed up the Preakness draw to Tuesday, 4 p.m. Eastern. So I'm assuming within the next 40 hours, this issue is going to be rectified and it's going to happen pretty quickly. I suppose in theory, the horse could still run under Bob Baffert's assistant, Jimmy Barnes. They could run under the name of Jimmy Barnes and still run. Anyway, there's a lot of things to speculate. We'll just wait and see what happens. But this is huge news, and hopefully, things will work out. It was a mistake, but again, too many overages, too many issues with this. We've got to figure out what's best, and it can't be just a slap on the wrist for any trainer. I don't care if you're Bob Baffert or a lesser-known trainer. We need consistency and need more stringent policies. But that's all I want to say right now. We have to see what happens, first of all, with this case, as I'm sure will be adjudicated if it's found that these overages are absolutely true out of our Kentucky Derby winner, Medina Spirit. So we're going to go ahead and talk about the races from Saturday at Belmont. Had a great stakes card. We're just going to briefly go through some races and some replays because there are some things to talk about. And then it'll be on to the Preakness this weekend, the second leg of the Triple Crown. So the first race I want to talk about on today's show is the Bouquet. This was for turf, fillies, and mares. You can see on the screen there, they were going a mile and 16th on the inner. And the winner, first start in her 4-year-old debut, Harvey's Lil Goyle, who went off the favorite. You can see $1.15 to 1 there with Lamista for Chad Brown, Peter Brandt coming in second. We're just going to go ahead and watch the end of this race here. And it was a very well-run race. You can see Harvey's Little Goy who makes the lead on the turn there. She's the one there in gray. I'm just going to pause it right here. Civil Union, who had a fantastic year last year, was very close in the Breeders' Cup, is right here. It's clear that Civil Union, first of all, needed the start, number one, and number two, wants to go further. She did not run very well. But you see, Harvey's Little Goy was bet all the way down to even money here. And Irad Ortiz in the Peter Brandt silk, so for Chad Brown, right there angles out. And I wanted her to win. That would have been best for me. I thought right here, maybe she had a chance, but Harvey's Little Goyle kicked on. These are two extremely good horses. These are very good efforts. I think they're both going to have fantastic years. As you see the finish right there, I'm expecting big years out of both of them. We go and look at the buyers there. Harvey's Little Goyle almost paired her top from the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf last year with the 101. Lamista, first time in the States with the 100. You see Silva Union there regress to an 85. This is a very good horse. She just obviously needed the race. I'm not going to read too much into it. I think Silva Union will absolutely be back. Great ride by Junior Alvarado on Harvey's Little Goyle to win the Bouquet. The next race we're going to look at is the Vagrancy. This was a small field, a field of 5 horses after there's a scratch. And this is why you need my race day blog, because there's a big scratch of the 7, who was one of my top choices. And because of that, I wrote in the blog, I decided to move up the 3, Victim of Love. Of course, those of you watching that received my blog know exactly what I'm referring to. I decided to move the 3 up as an upgrade, and sure enough, Victim of Love got the job done over Pacific Gale. But the story of this race here was the start, which we're going to watch here in a second. Rosario was on the 3, Victim of Love, and Johnny Velasquez was on the 6. And you see right at the start here in just a moment, Pacific Gale, who I expect to be close to the lead, right there you can see jumped out of the gate. And before she gets her momentum, she's already lost a good length and a half, 2 lengths here on the field. Meanwhile, the 3, Victim of Love by Joel Rosario, who's riding fantastically right now, put this horse in a perfect spot. I don't like what Johnny Velasquez did right here on the 6. You see in the yellow there, he rushed her up in between horses, and now she's in a bit of an uncomfortable spot. Listen, it's hard for me to criticize John Velasquez right now because the guy's absolutely red hot, winning the Oaks and the Derby last weekend and winning a big race on Saturday that we're about to watch. But I know Pacific Gale prefers to be on the outside, and this rush-up move in between really surprised me. I thought once that he didn't break well, that he was going to take her to the outside of the 5 on her way and get a clear path. But he saw a hole and decided to sort of rush her up here into the inside. And now she's in a bit of an uncomfortable spot. See, she's pulling just ever so slightly. As they were going a decent pace here. Wasn't flying, but certainly wasn't slow either. As Sadie Lady had the lone lead, which it looked to be on paper. But you hear on Rosario on the 3 decides to push the button on Victim of Love. And you see Pacific Gale is able to follow her, but you see she lost some momentum on her way to 5-2 is absolutely awful in this race. Victim of Love goes by Sadie Lady relatively easily as they go 45-3 to the half. Turning for home right here, it sure looked like Victim of Love was going to win very easily. But I thought Pacific Gale, who was my top choice in this race, actually ran well considering that start. She's not a push-button type horse. She's more of a grinding type. And you see she does fight on here And Victim of Love has to ask just to, keep the task, to keep her mind on the task. And you see right there, it was relatively close. The Pacific Ale does get up for second there and loses by about, 2 lengths, which was about the distance that she lost at the gate. So it's fair to say, to me at least, in my opinion, that Pacific Ale ran just as well as Victim of Love in this race, but the start was obviously doomsday for Pacific Gale. Excuse me, Pacific Gale actually got third. Sadie Lady did hang on for second. And you see the chart here. Sorry, go back to the buyer figures. Nothing spectacular. These are not grade 1 or grade 2 animals. These are nice, honest fillies and mares. Victim of Love gets an 88. Pacific Gale goes down to an 84. Obviously, the break hurt her. So we start the pick 5 with, for me, what ended up being an A horse after I upgraded Victim of Love with the scratch. Let's go ahead now and move on to the ninth race. Let's move on to the ninth race. The ninth race was the Peter Pan. And the winner was my top choice, Promise Keeper, one of two for Todd Pletcher. I was very surprised that Promise Keeper was as low as she was. She went off the favorite at 3-2 over the Belmont Nova Rags and overtook and Wolfie's Dynagos. We're just going to watch the stretch here of this race. And Promise Keeper, who stumbled at the start in her allowance win at Keeneland, did not stumble here. You'll see the start, which I thought was very important. He got off just fine. Not perfectly, but certainly good enough. And you see Wolfie's Dynagos. So I know a lot of people liked, who beat Weyburn, Dynamic 1 in a very live maiden race for Albatrani. I did not like, and I talked about this in the preview show, I did not like how Wolfie's Dynagos was off again for another 6 months. Basically missed the Derby Trail completely. He did show speed here for Junior Ortiz, which is not expected. But you see, Promise Keeper got an absolutely beautiful trip. He's got a very long stride. You see Novarags there in third on the inside, and overtook the other Pletcher, who is really a grinder and takes him a while to get into stride. We'll go ahead and move forward here. They went 48-3 for the mile and eighth one-turn race here, and it sure looked like right here when Promise Keeper ranged up to Wolfie's Dynagos that he had her measure. But Nova Rags, you see the 2, was also very comfortable for Junior Alvarado. Sayas goes by Wolfie's Dynagos, and now you've got a horse race here as Sayas floats a little bit wide and Novarags right off his flank. And right here, I thought it could go either way. I really look at Promise Keeper. I really like how this horse stretches out. He's just really gaining his top speed here. Promise Keeper, I think, can absolutely run all day. I don't know how quite talented as he is. As you see, Overtook struggling there in third, and Overtook will get third. But you see the wire there, and Promise Keeper will most likely go to the Belmont. I don't really think he's a threat in that race. He just seems too slow for me, as does Overtook. I think Nova Rags needs a turn back. I really believe Nova Rags is going to be better, going 7 furlongs a mile and mile 16th. I think that's going to be Nova Rags' best distance. I just don't think that he's getting the distance right now. As you see, Promise Keeper gets his career top of 89. Nova Rags runs the same race he usually runs, and Overtook paired up his top, but it's only an 83. As you see, Wolfie's Dynagos really regressed from his first start. I think this horse is very talented. Albatroni's just got to keep this horse healthy, and I think obviously he'll improve. And I think Wolfie's Dynagos will be an interesting horse to look for later in the year. This, to me, you just put a line through it. He obviously needed that race. Congratulations to Todd Pletcher, who wins the Peter Pan with Promise Keeper. All right, now let's go to the last race that we're going to talk about. And I'm going to go put myself on full screen here. So, the Man of War. I took a pretty strong stand in this race. I was wrong. I thought Sovereign, who was coming for Chad Brown, or Gufo were very likely winners in this race. There were some other interesting horses that I put underneath as seahorses, but I really thought this race went through those two. I didn't think Moon Over Miami classed up. Channel Keeper I thought was possible, but it's just extremely inconsistent. I really wasn't sure what to do with him. And this turned out, and Field Pass, who I thought was very interesting in this race, who I ended up upgrading based on some comments I'd heard from people that I respect, and also the fact that I thought it was possible Field Pass could get loose. Uh, that absolutely did not happen in this race because this pace was absolutely supersonic in the Man of War. We're going to go ahead and take a look at it, and somehow, despite the pace of the race, the winner, Channel Cat, was absolutely fantastic in this race. As we're going to watch, obviously, some jockeys and trainers had the same idea as Michael Maker and Field Pass had to go to the lead, because we're going to go ahead and watch the replay here. And I'll tell you what, this is one of the fastest. This is a mile and 3/8, by the way, the grade 1 Man of War, $700,000 purse. And I thought the 7 Field Pass had a chance to get a relatively early lead. Channel Cat the 5, his best races had been up close, but I didn't think he really had the speed that Channel Cat did. And then Sovereign the 1, coming for Chad Brown with some good European form and some extremely good class lines, had also showed speed in Europe. And I thought Sovereign would be sitting in the pocket trip. But early speed in Europe is not nearly the same as early speed here in the States. And if any race is evidence of that, it would be this one. As we go and run it through, and you see right here, the jock on the 7, Saez, is asking, but so high, the big bomb for Charapol was asking, and Johnny Velasquez on the 5, Channel Cat, was having none of it. And right here, I'll say about right here, I knew they were going fast, and I said to myself, neither one of these horses is going to be around at the end. Because as we go ahead and continue watching, this first quarter, granted it was on a straightaway, but still, and the turf was not lightning fast either. I mean, it was firm, but it wasn't lightning fast. 22-3 for the first quarter. Finally, Saya says, okay, Johnny V, you want the lead. You've got it. But they've already gone a very fast first quarter of 22-3, and they did slow it down. And I would say this second quarter was probably the key of the race for Channel Cat. As you see Field Pass sitting comfortably, and you see way back, you see this huge gap of about 8 lengths to the back part of the field. You see they go 47-2. So that is still very fast for this distance, although it was almost a 25-second second quarter. It's still fast for the distance. However, Channel Cat is looking very comfortable here on the lead. Field Pass is sitting also comfortably in second. You got the bomb so high in third. And now what you see here from the back of the pack is you see the 8 Gufo and you see Sovereign, who was much further back than I expected in this race, starting to make their moves as they go 112-2 for 6 furlongs. So you see Sovereign move up here. You see Zayed also getting a very nice trip on the inside. Shamrocket for Castellano also getting a good trip. So all horses are relatively comfortable at this point. And Johnny V still on the lead, still doing it relatively comfortably, as now you see the pack coming. Now, Sovereign is 4 or 5 wide. You see right here, Sovereign is just out in the middle, no man's land, and he's not with not a lot of momentum. Right here, and I had Zayed on my ticket. I had all 3 A's at this point on my personal pick 5. So really, I wouldn't mind a horse that was a long shot here to sort of spice up the pick 5. I did not have Moon Over Miami at all. I did have Channel Cat as a seahorse. I had Zayed as a seahorse, and it looked this point, it was pretty clear to me that Field Pass wasn't winning, Sovereign wasn't winning. So I was really cheering more for Zayed. Would have been my best situation. Gufo was an A, but again, would not have really spiced up the ticket. You see, he's in the back there right next to Moon Over Miami. And you see they reached the top of the stretch here. No one had to study. Everyone pretty much got through they wanted. Gufo gets the perfect Joel Rosario inside-outside move. And if Gufo was that good and was the goods and was ready off this layoff, you would have expected Gufo to go by, or Zayed, who's not quite as classy, but boy did Zayed get a fantastic ride. Again, that inside angle out trip. And it looks like, to me, sort of repeat of the Kentucky Derby a little bit, where you have horses that are getting nice trips that angle out, and they end up going across the track in the stretch. But just like the Derby, the leader fights on. Johnny Velazquez. You see Moto Miami also getting a great trip, who I did not like in this race. Got a dream trip and ride down on the inside. But look at Channel Cat continue to fight on. Here comes Gufo with the momentum on the outside. You see Moto Miami on the inside, but Gufo could not get to Channel Cat, who ran an unbelievable race, winning by a dirty nose over Gufo there at 8-1. Gufo off the layoff ran a big race, but he did have things go his own way. And Moon of Miami, if you liked Moon of Miami, you could not have asked for anything more. Junior gave Moon of Miami the absolute perfect trip whatsoever. Was back in a fast-paced, saved ground. Moon of Miami cannot run any better than that. I would be downgrading Moon over Miami in his next race, unless it's a lower class race. We take a look at the buyers here. Channel Cat ran a 98, ran very well. Gufo, excellent start to his 4-year-old campaign off the layoff, just missing in this grade 1. Like I said, Moon over Miami paired his buyer top. That's the absolute best case scenario that he can run. And you see Sovereign with a disappointing second to last 88, and Field Pass also with an 88 into that fast pace. But again, Channel Cat was also up on that fast pace. So it's hard for me to say that it was the fast pace that did Field Pass in when Channel Cat wired the field. I think Field Pass needs to go shorter. I wouldn't be shocked if he can get this distance, but the first time going this distance, going this fast, absolutely did not work out for this horse. Congratulations to Channel Cat and John Velazquez with an unbelievable effort on the front, winning at 8-1, giving Jack Sisterson the grade 1 victory in this race here. So that was the stake races at Belmont this past Saturday. I was live in the pick 5. I had a single in the last race that I needed for a pretty good score. Got a rough trip on the other, Chad Brown. Chad Brown had 2 maidens in a split maiden fields. There were 2 maiden races for going a mile 16th, going, I believe, a turn and a half. And Chad Brown and Peter Brandt had 2 horses, one in each race. So Italian was absolutely outstanding in the first one, won by like 6 lengths, was absolutely fantastic. I was hoping the Chad Brown horse in the last race would come through for me. Rastafara got a rough trip, didn't come in. Hopefully you had many cashes on Saturday and hit the pick 5 also. Once again, let me show you what's happening on Thursday of this week. Very exciting Thursday night. Don't forget, set your clocks. Thursday night, 8 p.m. Eastern is the next live stream for the HHH podcast. Again, new improved show. You're going to love it. Matt Bernier, a strong probable, as my first live guest, not in the chat, actually a live guest. We're going to talk to him, asking a lot of questions about horse racing, about sports in general. You're going to learn more about Matt. And of course, we're going to have a detailed analysis of the Preakness Stakes. And we're also going to be handicapping many stake races at Pimlico, including the late pick 5. It's going to be a fantastic show. I can't wait to have you for episode 38 this next Thursday. Thanks for watching. I hope to see you Thursday. This has been your host, Howard Kravitz, for Howard's Horse Handicapping. Take care, everyone. Good night.